Nice to be here. Good afternoon. That was weak. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We got to try one more time because we need like 90% participation and everything we do in the Department of Education. One more time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. It's just an opportunity to show that people will rise to your level of expectation. You just have to set out what the expectation is. Now I am what's called the Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction. So sometimes people want to know, why are you the Deputy Superintendent? I mean, what's that mean? What do you do exactly? And basically I'm in charge of the Oregon Department of Education. The governor in the state of Oregon is now the Superintendent of Public Instruction, but he has other work to do, like special sessions and so forth. And so he appoints a person to be the person who runs the department, and that's me. So one of the things that we have begun to put in place is what we're calling a P through 20 system. And P stands for prenatal, and 20 stands for graduate school. So we're trying to think about this system in education no longer as these pieces of a system, right? Like prenatal and very early childhood, 3 to 4 years old, kindergarten through grade 5, grade 6 through 8, grades 9 through 12, and then community college or college, and then graduate school. We're trying to say this is one system, so let's think about it as a whole. So there's a group called the Oregon Education Investment Board. It's a group, and this is what they're tasked with doing, is trying to think about how you would use resources in the state to make sure that this system is as capable at getting the outcomes that we want for the state and for individuals, for students in the state, as possible. So, if I said to you, instead of thinking about how we're going to fund K-12 or how we're going to fund college or we're going to fund early childhood, let's think about where are the best investments that we can make along the K through, or the P through 20 system. Where would you do that? Would you think about how you spend dollars or resources in a different way than you do now? And that's the question that the Oregon Education Investment Board needs to think about. At the Department of Education specifically, legislation out of the last session moved early childhood into the Department of Education. So anyway, so that's where the department used to be, and now they're in the Department of Education. And the shift really is that that department should not be about child care. Oh, it's the Department of Labor, there we go. So that people can work. It should be about, when we have that time frame, ensuring that we're moving students along an education continuum. So it should be about education, not about daycare. And that's really an interesting and fundamental shift in where we're going to think about that time frame. And in fact, that we should be thinking about education from the time that a woman enters, is pregnant, so prenatal, and just like what the nutrition looks like, what their exercise looks like, what kind of education we can provide around working with the child at the earliest levels that's going to help them be more successful as they move forward, so that we ensure that students arrive at kindergarten ready to learn. But there were 4 big initiatives that we put forward. One of them was reading by the end of 3rd grade. So we were able to secure a fairly significant amount of money to think about how do we make sure that students are going to be able to read by the end of 3rd grade. As a superintendent, I used to think that meant that we had to really, that we had sort of this hair on fire emergency from kindergarten to the end of 3rd grade to make sure that students were going to be strong readers. I don't think about that way anymore. Now I think about it from prenatal to the end of 3rd grade. So we've got a bunch more years now to work on this because we have a P through 20 system. And so what do those investments look like? And some of them are about what kind of prenatal care do we get. Some of them are, how do we talk to parents who are brand new parents about how to work with their child so that they are going to get some pre-reading skills, that they're going to get some pre-numeracy skills so that they're ready to do math. They don't show up in my room in high school and say, I don't expect my child to know how to do math because I wasn't very good at that either, right? Even just about how you message that kind of thing with your child. brand new kindergarten assessment that some students just took. There's a dip about, are these students kinder ready or not? And so if they are, how do we move them forward from that point? And if they're not, what kind of experiences did they have before they got here, and how would we improve on those? So it's just that kinder assessment is a dipstick to try to figure those things out in the state.
So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife.
We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.